Welcome back to All Again, where passion meets music. So Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76 today, the 22nd of July 2025. The news broke earlier at about 7:15. I got a text message or WhatsApp message on my phone confirming that Ozzy had passed away. Apparently it happened this morning in London and he was surrounded by his family and friends. So I just wanted to come on and give my experience of Ozzy and Black Sabbath in my life, what the band and Ozzy meant to me in terms of my musical journey. And I know a lot of people are doing this on the YouTube channel, so I thought it would be fitting. I did carry out some live streams earlier on my own channel, Wall Again, and on That Sound podcast, but due to the connection, they didn't come out very well. The content was good, but unfortunately the videos stopped and started and froze. So I've decided to come out and just do a normal video on YouTube for this passing of Ozzy Osbourne. So I first became aware of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath in the 1990s, 1994 to be specific. There were some family home from Australia attending a funeral, and my mum's cousin introduced me to Black Sabbath, the song Black Sabbath, and he had an interest in bands like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and bands like this. So I was getting into music at that stage, and he had said, look, here's some good guitar music, here's some good rock music, Black Sabbath, and he introduced me to the song Black Sabbath. I thought it was good, but I was listening to other stuff at the time, and it wasn't really something my mum probably wanted me listening to at that age. So fast forward a few more years, and I was going to college, and a mate of mine who was also into playing guitar and listening to rock and metal music, he gave me a loan of Ozzy Osbourne, The Ozman Cometh, and when I put that CD on, the first song on that CD was Black Sabbath, and it took me right back to 1994. So we're probably in around the year 2000 at this point, and that album basically had a mixture of Black Sabbath tracks and also Ozzy Osbourne solo tracks. So I listened to that album over and over again. I recorded it on cassette, and really enjoyed getting into that music, but I wanted more, and I wanted to listen to more of this band Black Sabbath. So I went out and bought my own copy of War Pigs. This version here, this was a remastered version from 1996, and I was absolutely blown away. But of course I was familiar with the song War Pigs and Paranoid because they were on the Ozman Cometh, but there was also Iron Man on there, which was absolutely fantastic and blew me away. Planet Caravan, another excellent song, more of a clean acoustic style song, picking song. And then Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, brilliant rock songs. Rat Salad, which was a rock song and drum solo, and then finished with Fairies Wear Boots, which is a fantastic song. A great album, had a massive impact on me. I then ended up, after college, I ended up joining a covers band, or starting a covers band with a few friends of mine, and we would have War Pigs, Paranoid and Iron Man in our set list throughout the years. So to say that this album had a big impact on me would be an understatement. I absolutely love this album, but I wasn't happy there. I wanted to go on and get to grips with more of the Black Sabbath material, and this was pre-streaming, and I suppose the internet had just started, but the whole file sharing thing hadn't really kicked off. So I went and bought the first Black Sabbath album, this one here, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I thought it was every bit as good as Paranoid, to be honest, and I thought there wasn't any skip tracks on this album. Of course we have Black Sabbath. This was my third time getting to grips with that song. I had it from the Ozman Cometh, and I had it from listening to it in 1994. But then when I had it on my own version on CD, just something very special about that. The Wizard, Behind the Wall of Sleep, NIB, of course, Evil Woman, which I believe was a cover that they were forced to put onto the album, and then Sleeping Village, The Warning and Wicked World. But I have to say the first Black Sabbath album was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed it. And then I had to get this classic, Master of Reality, and I just love the way Black Sabbath, the logo is on that one there. But this album was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Starting off with Sweet Leaf, Children of the Grave, and obviously Into the Void, the song that probably invented or certainly had a massive influence on creating the grunge sound in Seattle for bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. So those three Black Sabbath albums, I absolutely adored, played them over and over and over again. And then I also got into the Ozzy Osbourne solo material. So for me, listening to the Ozman Comet, songs like Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, and of course Shot in the Dark, Bark at the Moon, all that Jake E. Lee stuff as well. So we had the Randy Rhoads stuff, which I mentioned, Mr. Crowley and Crazy Train. We had the Jake E. Lee stuff with the Bark at the Moon, Shot in the Dark, all that good stuff. And then we had the Zakk Wylde era, and that was stuff like Crazy Babies was one of his, and also No More Tears. And I just absolutely loved No More Tears. I thought it was one of the best songs of all time, one of the best guitar solos of all time, particularly the breakdown and the lead into that absolutely thunderous guitar solo. But at that point then, like Ozzy Osbourne, his solo material was up there with Black Sabbath's for me, and I took so much inspiration from all of his, playing and all his different styles and the way he was able to, lead Black Sabbath as a singer and then go off and have his own successful career. It was just fantastic. It was like everything he touched was amazing. He was a great vocalist and great at picking guitar players and all that. So he was a massive influence on me as a guitar player and as of a lover of rock music. And I was lucky enough to see him twice. So the first time I saw him was with Black Sabbath. They were playing in Brisbane in 2013. I was actually over in Australia at that time for a couple of years working, and I got a chance to go up to the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, which is just outside the city, and I got to see Black Sabbath live. So it was Ozzy Osbourne on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on bass, and Tommy Clufitos on drums. And they were absolutely amazing. It was class. Great to see Ozzy live. He put so much passion into his live performances with the crowd, getting people to clap and wave their hands, and he's just so embedded into the fans, and he's so grateful for the fans being there for him. I also got to see Black Sabbath then. I returned to Ireland and I got to see Black Sabbath in Dublin in January of 2017, and that was the end tour at that time. Of course, we know there was a little bit more left after that, but that was absolutely fantastic. I was seated for that gig, so I could appreciate a lot more of the visuals. But as I've said before, Black Sabbath, they don't do a whole lot with tricks and smoke and mirrors and pyro or big screens. They just basically come out and rock it, and they were amazing on that night, absolutely amazing. And it was a great way. I was happy to see them live, and if that was the end, I would have been a happy camper. But that wasn't the end. They decided to reform and do this Back to the Beginning gig. Now I probably should say I was due to see Ozzy Osbourne solo a number of times. Once in the Point Depot back in the day, probably in the early 2000s, and the show was cancelled. And then I was due to see him again just shortly after COVID, or maybe during COVID, but the gig kept getting pushed out. It was to be Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest. But then with Ozzy's health issues, that never happened. And then obviously they were getting ready for this gig, the Back to the Beginning. So when the Back to the Beginning concert was announced, I was very excited, and me and my mates, we all tried to get tickets. Unfortunately, we couldn't get tickets for the gig. I know there was one ticket available on the week leading up to the gig, but it just wasn't enough. We wanted to go as a group, and at that stage, I didn't really have the funds to fly over or get the boat over to Birmingham. And so I decided against going on my own and availing of that single ticket. But I managed to stream it live because there was a streaming ticket. So I bought the streaming ticket, watched it live, and myself and Gavin from That Sound podcast, we had a lot of interaction over and back on WhatsApp with Eric Strong as well, who's on the channel, on both our channels, an awful lot. And we were all, talking about the different acts, and it was great. It was almost as good as being there. I had the big TV set up, I had my stereo speaker set up, and the sofa here in the music room, and I was able to enjoy the full event from the comfort of my own home, all 10.5 hours of it. But it was fantastic to see Black Sabbath on stage again, and fantastic to see Ozzy Osbourne on stage again. Even though he was restricted, he couldn't stand up, but he sounded amazing. Whether he had help or not, I don't know. I don't really care. It was just great to see him live, and great to see him thanking the fans. But it's such a big shock now, just over 2 weeks later, that he's actually passed away. Because we probably all thought, he's got some time left. Maybe it's limited time, maybe it's a year, maybe it's a little bit less. But we certainly didn't think it was just over 2 weeks. So he's obviously, really put a lot of effort into getting fit enough to be able to perform on this gig 2.5 weeks ago. And I think maybe that has taken it out of him. Who knows? But it was just great to see him one last time, playing live, and also to see the outpouring of love for him and his music from all his fans. And again, he was so appreciative of all his fans, and he even mentioned what a difficult journey it was to get there to perform on that stage. So look, I think it's a big shock to all of us who care deeply about Ozzy's music and Black Sabbath's music. We're in the headspace now where we're thinking about Black Sabbath because they had just carried out the gig, and Ozzy, and then this news comes. So it's probably as good a time as any. He said goodbye. He's had his final farewell on that gig, and now the spotlight is on the band and is on Ozzy Osbourne, and now they get a chance. He gets a chance maybe to say goodbye, or to leave us. But while the media is still looking at it, but if it was 6 months down the line, maybe people would have forgot about this gig, and then it's, Ozzy Osbourne died, by the way. So I think it's probably a good time to happen, and all I can say is, it's about midnight now. I'm recording this video on the night that Ozzy has passed away, and every single YouTube channel that covers music that I'm aware of has got a video out on this, commemorating the life of Ozzy Osbourne. And I think that just is a testament to the man and how much he means to people in our music community, especially with genres like rock and metal, where we are a bit fanatical about our music, and we really love our music. But I think Ozzy was such an iconic figure in the world of rock and metal that it's fitting that people are giving their own tributes to him. And I just wanted to weigh in with my uninterrupted, unfrozen, unfiltered tribute to Ozzy. So rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, and to all his fans out there, include myself. We're going to continue listening to his music. He's still going to live on in our memories, just like Kurt Cobain, Jeff Beck, John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, whoever it may be, John Bonham. These guys, they're larger than life, and their music lives on, so therefore their legacy lives on. So I hope you enjoyed my tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, and I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.